Jiho Kim checked his tablet for the 5th time in 2 minutes. The words on the screen had not changed, but his hands kept shaking. Today was the day that would change everything. Today humans would meet the Valathi for the first time. The space. Station Harmony's edge floated in the dark space between two worlds. It was built for this exact moment. Half human design, half alien design. It looked strange, like two different buildings stuck together. But it worked. It had to work. Jiho was 28 years old and very nervous. His job was to watch the aliens and write down everything they did. Ambassador Woojin Park had chosen him for this task because Jiho was good at noticing small details. Right. Now Jiho wished he had stayed on Earth. Remember, Ambassador Park said, as he fixed his tie, "We are making history today. Everything we do matters. Everything we say matters. The future of both our species depends on this meeting." Jiho nodded and tried to look calm. He was not calm. His stomach felt like it had butterflies doing backflips. He had studied alien behavior for 3 years, but he had never actually seen an alien before. None of them had. The meeting room was big and round. Human chairs sat on one side. Strange. Curved seats sat on the other side. The alien seats looked like they were made for creatures that did not sit like humans. Jiho wondered if the aliens would actually use them. At exactly noon, the alien door opened. Jiho's breath caught in his throat. The Valathi were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but they moved like big cats. Their skin was covered in soft fur that changed colors as they moved. Their eyes were large and golden. Their faces were a mix of human and feline features. The lead alien was tall and moved with authority. This had to be Elder Kira, their diplomat. Behind her walked a younger alien with bright purple and silver fur. This one looked around the room with wide, curious eyes. "Welcome to Harmony's Edge," Ambassador Park said in a careful, formal voice. "I am Ambassador Woojin Park, representing Earth and humanity." Elder Kira stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music mixed with a cat's purr. "I am Elder Kira of the Valathi Coalition, come in peace and friendship." Her English was perfect, but it sounded different when she said it. The 2 leaders shook hands. It was the first time in history that a human and a Valathi had touched. Jiho wrote this down in his tablet, his fingers moving quickly, for the next 2 hours. The leaders talked about trade, territory, and peace treaties. Jiho watched everything. He noticed how the aliens moved their ears when they were listening. Carefully, he saw how their fur changed from bright colors to darker colors when they were thinking hard. He wrote it all down. The young alien with purple fur kept looking at Jiho. Every time he looked up from his tablet, her golden eyes seemed to be studying his face like he was the most interesting thing in the room. It made him uncomfortable, but he tried to ignore it. Ambassador Park and Elder Kira signed several papers. They agreed to meet again next month. They agreed to share some technology. They agreed to learn about each other's cultures. It was all very formal and polite. "This meeting has been successful," Elder Kira announced. "We look forward to working with humanity." Everyone stood up. The formal meeting was over. Jiho felt relief wash over him. He had done his job. He had watched and written down everything important. Soon he could go back to his room and rest. But then the young alien started walking toward him. She was smaller than Elder Kira, but she moved with the same cat-like grace. Her purple fur shimmered as she walked. Her golden eyes never left his. Face Jiho froze. He did not know what to do. "Hello," she said in English. Her voice was softer than Elder Kira's, but it still had that musical purr. "I am Nari." "Hello," Jiho managed to say. "I am Jiho Kim." Nari stepped closer. Too close. Jiho could smell her scent now. It was strange, but not unpleasant. Like flowers mixed with something wild and natural. "You watch," Nari said, pointing at his tablet. "You watch us." "Yes," Jiho said. "I study behavior. I write down what I see." Nari tilted her head to one side, like a curious cat. "What do you see when you look at me?" The question surprised Jiho. He did not know how to answer. Around them, the other humans and aliens were still talking, but their voices seemed far away. I see, Jiho started to say, but he stopped. What did he see? He saw someone young and curious, someone who seemed as nervous as he was, someone whose eyes held intelligence and kindness. Nari stepped even closer. Now she was less than an arm's length away. Jiho could see the small patterns in her fur. He could see the flecks of green in her golden eyes. I see truth, Nari said quietly, before Jiho could ask what she meant. Nari did something that changed everything. She leaned forward and licked his cheek. Her tongue was rough, like a cat's tongue, but warm. It happened so fast that Jiho did not have time to move. 1 second she was standing there. The next second her tongue was running across his left cheek, from his ear to his nose. The room went completely silent. Jiho stood frozen, his hand moving slowly to touch his cheek. It was wet and tingling. He could taste something strange in the air. Ambassador Park's face turned red with anger. The other humans looked shocked and disgusted, but the aliens looked even more shocked. Elder Kira's fur turned completely black. Her eyes went wide with what looked like horror. Nari? Elder Kira shouted in her own language. The word sounded like a hiss mixed with a roar. Nari stepped back, her own fur changing to dark colors. She looked confused and scared. Elder Kira grabbed Nari's arm and pulled her toward the alien door. This meeting is over, she said to the humans, her voice cold and formal. We must leave immediately. The aliens rushed out of the room, leaving. The humans alone with their shock and confusion. Jiho touched his cheek again, could still feel where her tongue had touched his skin. Around him, his fellow humans were talking loudly, asking questions, expressing outrage. But all Jiho could think about was the look in Nari's eyes just before she licked him. It was not the look of someone trying to insult him, of someone who had found something important. What had she meant when she said she saw truth? Jiho sat alone in his small room on the space station. 3 hours had passed since the meeting ended, but he could still feel the wet spot on his cheek where Nari had licked him. He had washed his face twice, but the memory would not go away. His tablet kept buzzing with messages. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Everyone wanted to know what it meant. But Jiho did not have answers. He only had questions. A loud knock came at his door. Jiho, open up. It was Ambassador Park's voice, and he sounded very angry. Jiho opened the door. Ambassador Park pushed past him into the room. The older man's face was red, and his hands were shaking with anger. What did you do? Ambassador Park demanded. What did you say to that alien to make her? To make her do that disgusting thing? I did not do anything, Jiho said quietly. I just answered her questions. I was polite. Polite? Ambassador Park laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. You call what happened polite? She licked you like you were food. She insulted our entire species. Jiho touched his cheek again. Oh, maybe. It was not an insult. Maybe it meant something else. Something else? Ambassador Park stared at him. What else could it mean? Animals lick things they want to eat, or things they think are dirty. Either way, it was an insult to humanity. The ambassador walked to the small window and looked out at space. The Velothi have not answered any of our messages. They will not. Talk to us. 30 years of planning for first contact, and it is ruined because one alien decided to treat a human like a pet. Jiho felt sick to his stomach. Was this really his fault? Had he somehow caused this disaster? Sir, Jiho said carefully, what if we do not understand what happened? What if their culture is different from what we think? Ambassador Park turned around. His eyes were cold. Different. Jiho, she licked your face in front of everyone. There is no culture in the universe where that is acceptable behavior between strangers. After Ambassador Park left, Jiho sat on his bed and stared at the wall. His tablet buzzed again. This time, it was a message from his friend, Min-jae Choi. Min-jae was a xenobiologist who worked on Earth, studying alien life forms. Heard about the meeting? Are you okay? The message said. Jiho typed back quickly. I need help. Can you video call? Me. 5 minutes later, Min-jae's face appeared on Jiho's tablet screen. Minjae had messy black hair and kind eyes behind thick glasses. He looked worried. "Tell me everything," Minjae said. Jiho told his friend about the meeting, about Nari, and about the lick. He described how the other aliens had reacted, how their fur had changed colors, how Elder Kira had looked horrified. Minjae listened without interrupting. When Jiho finished, Minjae was quiet for a long moment. "The fur changing colors is important," Minjae finally said. "In many animal species, color changes show emotion or communication. Did you notice what colors they changed to?" "Dark colors when they were upset," Jiho said. "Bright colors when they were curious or happy. Interesting." Minjae typed something. On his computer, "I have been studying the few photos we have of Valathi. Their fur is not just for warmth. It might be part of how they communicate." "What do you mean?" "Think about it," Minjae said. "Humans communicate mostly with words and facial expressions. But what if the Valathi communicate with smell, taste, and color changes? What if that lick was not random?" Jiho felt a spark of hope. "You think it meant something specific?" "I do not know yet. But I think we need to learn more about their biology before we decide it was an insult." After the call ended, Jiho could not sleep. He kept thinking about Nari's golden eyes, the way she had said, "I see truth," and the way her fur had changed colors throughout their short conversation. Meanwhile,
Oh no.
on the Valathi side of the station, Nari sat in her own room. But unlike Jiho, she was not alone. Elder Kira stood in front of her, and two other Valathi adults flanked the door like guards. "Explain yourself," Elder Kira said in their own language. Her fur was still the dark color of anger and disappointment. "I cannot explain it," Nari replied. Her voice was small and confused. "I felt compelled. His scent, his presence. Something called to me, called to you." Elder Kira's tail switched back and forth. "Nari, what you did breaks every protocol we have established. You performed a recognition taste on an alien species without permission, without ceremony, without understanding." But Elder Kira Nari said, "It felt right, felt necessary. Necessary." Elder Kira stepped closer. "Do you understand what you have done? The humans think you insulted them. Our own people think you have either gone insane or committed blasphemy." Nari's fur turned pale with fear. "Blasphemy," Elder Kira sighed. Her fur slowly changed from dark anger to the gray of sadness. "Child, the recognition taste is sacred. It is performed only between potential life bonds, and only after proper rituals. To use it on an alien, some of our people think you have insulted our ancestors. Others think you have discovered something impossible." "What do you think?" Nari asked quietly. Elder Kira looked at the young Valathi for a long moment. "I think you are either very foolish or very wise. I hope for all our sakes that you are." Wise back in the human section, Jiho received another message. This time it was from the head of the diplomatic mission on Earth. The message was short and direct. "Return to Earth immediately for debriefing. Mission compromised." Jiho stared at the message. He'd left now. He would never know what Nerys action really meant. He would never know if this was truly the end of human-Valathi relations, or if it was the beginning of something no one understood yet. His friend Minjae had sent him more information about animal communication. Many species use taste and smell to identify friends, family, and potential mates. Some used it to share information or show respect. What if the lick was not an insult? What if it was something else entirely? Jiho made a decision. Typed a dot. Message back to Earth, requesting extended stay to study incident further. Believe there may be cultural misunderstanding. He did not know if they would let him stay, but he had to try. Something important had happened in that meeting room. Everyone was too angry or scared to figure out what it was. As he prepared for bed, Jiho looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, two species were probably preparing for the end of their first contact attempt, but maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for understanding. The answer lay with a young alien named Nari, and the meaning behind a simple lick that had changed everything. Jiho woke up to his tablet buzzing loudly. The message was from Earth, permission denied. Return immediately. But there was another message right below it, this one from Minjae. I convinced them to let you stay 3 more days. Use the time wisely. Jiho smiled for the first time since the incident. 3 days was not much, but it was something. He got dressed quickly and headed to the station's library. The library was empty except for one person. A young man with tired eyes sat at a computer, typing rapidly. Jiho recognized him from the diplomatic team. "You are Tae-young Lee, right?" Jiho asked. "The language specialist?" Tae-young looked up. "Yes. And you are the one who got licked by an alien." He said it without judgment, just like he was stating a fact. "I am trying to understand what it meant," Jiho said. "Can you help me?" Tae-young nodded toward the chair next to him. "I have been trying to understand it too. Sit down. I found something interesting." Tae-young showed Jiho his computer screen. It was full of notes about Velothi language patterns. "Look at this," Tae-young said. "The Velothi language has 17 different words for greeting. 17. And that is just the words we know about." Jiho leaned closer to the screen. "What does that mean?" "It means they have many different ways to say hello, depending on the situation. Some greetings are for strangers, some are for family, some are for important ceremonies." Tae-young scrolled down through his notes. But here's the weird part. None of their greetings involve physical contact with strangers. So what Nari did was not normal. "Not normal at all," Tae-young said. "According to everything we know about Velothi culture, they do not touch strangers. They especially do not put their mouths on strangers." Jiho felt disappointed. If it was not normal, then maybe Ambassador Park was right. Maybe it was an insult. Tae-young continued. "I found something else. The Velothi have a completely separate category of interactions that are not greetings at all. They call them recognition protocols." "Recognition protocols?" "Yes, but the translator programs cannot figure out what they mean. The concepts do not translate well into human language." Jiho thought about this. "What if we asked a Velothi to explain?" Tae-young laughed sadly. "They are not talking to us, remember? They will not answer our messages." But Jiho had an idea. "What if we found a Velothi who wanted to talk? Someone who was not part of the official diplomatic team?" "That is impossible. There are only 12 Velothi on this station, and they are all diplomats or guards." Jiho remembered something. Nari had a friend with her. Another young Velothi. "I saw them talking before the meeting. Even if we found her, how would we communicate?" "We do not speak their language. You do," Jiho said. "You are a language specialist?" Tae-young stared at him. "I know some basic words, but having a real conversation, that would be very difficult. Will you try?" Tae-young was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Yes, but first we need to find this Velothi friend, and we need to do it without the diplomats knowing." They spent the next 2 hours planning. The Velothi section of the station was off limits to humans, but there were common areas where both species could go. The dining hall, the observation deck, and the recreation room. That afternoon, Jiho and Tae-young went to the observation deck. It was a large room with windows that showed the stars and the 2 home planets in the distance. Usually it was empty during the day, but today they were lucky. A young Velothi sat alone by the big window, looking out at space. Her fur was light, blue with silver stripes. She looked sad. "It must be her," Jiho whispered. Thyung nodded. They walked slowly toward the Velothi. She noticed them coming and tensed up, ready to run. "Wait," Tae-young said in the Velothi language. His pronunciation was awkward, but understandable. "We want to talk about Nari." The Velothi's ears perked up. She looked at Jiho with curious eyes. "You are the human," she said in English. Her accent was thick, but her words were clear. "Yes," Jiho said. "I am Jiho. What is your name?" "I am Sumin," she replied. She looked around nervously. "I should not be talking to you," please, Jiho said. "I need to understand what happened. Is Nari in trouble?" Sumin's fur changed to a darker shade of blue. "Yes, big trouble. The elders are very angry." "Why are they angry?" Tae-young asked. Sumin was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What Nari did, ... It is very important in our culture, very sacred. She should not have done it with a stranger, especially not an alien stranger." What does it mean? Jiho asked. The licking. It is not just licking, Suman said. It is tasting. Taste to know truth about others. But Nari used the recognition taste. That is only for. She struggled to find the right English words. Only for special connections. Kind of special connections. Suman's fur turned bright pink. Life bonds. What you humans call ... marriage. But deeper than marriage. Jiho felt his heart skip. She thought I was a potential husband. No. No, Suman said quickly. Not husband, Soltwin. Someone whose spirit matches yours perfectly. It is very rare. Most Valathi never find their Soltwin. Taeyong and Jiho looked at each other in amazement. So when Nari tasted Jiho, ... double quotes, Taeyong began. To see if he was her soul twin, Suman finished. But that is impossible. Soul twins are always the same species. It cannot happen with an alien. But she did it anyway, Jiho said. Yes. And now the elders do not know what to think. Some say she has dishonored our traditions. Others say she has discovered something new and important. What do you think? Jiho asked. Suman looked at him for a long time. Her fur changed through several colors. Blue, green, purple, then back to blue. I think Nari felt something real, she said finally. She is not crazy. She is not disrespectful. If she used the recognition taste, she had a reason. Can we talk? To her, Jiho asked. Suman shook her head. She is confined to quarters. No visitors allowed. But... She hesitated. But what? I might be able to get a message to her if you want to tell her something. Jiho thought about this. What would he say? That he was not angry? That he wanted to understand? That he felt something strange, too, when she looked at him. Tell her, Jiho said slowly, that I do not think she meant to insult anyone. Tell her I want to understand what she felt. And tell her... Tell her that her eyes looked kind. Suman's fur turned bright yellow, the color of happiness. I will tell her, but I must go now. If the elders find out I talked to you, I will be in trouble too. After Suman left, Jiho and Taeyong sat in the observation deck for a long time, thinking about what they had learned. Saltwinds, Taeyong said finally. That changes everything, does it? Jiho asked. I am still human. She is still alien. Even if she felt some kind of connection, what does that mean for our species? Maybe it means we are not as different as we thought, Taeyong replied. Maybe some connections go deeper than biology. Jiho touched his cheek again. The physical sensation was long gone, but the memory remained. Nari had looked into his eyes and seen something that made her act on pure instinct. Something that was worth risking her reputation and her standing with her own people. What had she seen, and more importantly, why did Jiho feel like she had been right to look for it? The next morning, Jiho found a note slipped under his door. It was written in English, but the handwriting looked strange, like someone who was not used to human letters. Meet me in the garden room at noon. Come alone. Jiho did not know who H was, but he had a feeling this was important. The garden room was a small space on the station filled with plants from both Earth and the Valathi homeworld. It was usually empty because most people preferred the observation deck. At exactly noon, Jiho entered the garden room. The air smelled like flowers and something wild. He walked between the tall plants, looking for whoever had left the note. Human, a voice said softly. Jiho turned around. An old Valathi stepped out from behind a large tree. This alien was different from the others Jiho had seen. His fur was white and gray and he moved slowly like his joints hurt. But his golden eyes were sharp and intelligent. I am Hune, the old Valathi said. I have been watching you. It's watching me, yes. You and your friend, talking to Suman. You want to understand what happened with young Nari? Jiho nodded. Yes, I think there has been a big misunderstanding. Fur changed to a lighter shade of gray. You are correct. There has been a misunderstanding, but not the kind you think. The old Valathi sat down on a stone bench near a fountain. He gestured for Jiho to sit beside him. I am very old, Hune said. I have studied our history and traditions for many years. I know things that the younger elders have forgotten. Kind of things? Things about the recognition taste? Things about Soltwinds? Things about what it means when someone acts on pure instinct? Jiho sat forward, eager to hear more. The elders think Nari broke tradition, Hyun continued. They think she used a sacred ritual inappropriately. But they are wrong. Wrong how? Hyun was quiet for a moment, looking at the plants around them. Tell me, Hyun, what did you feel when Nari looked at you? Jiho thought about it. Felt like she was seeing something in me that I did not even know was there. Like she understood me without knowing me. And when she performed the recognition taste, it was strange, but not bad. It felt important, even though I did not understand. Why? Hyun's fur turned golden, almost glowing. He felt the connection, too. What connection? The same connection Nari felt? The reason she could not stop herself from tasting you? Jiho's heart started beating faster. I do not understand. In our oldest stories, Haeon said, there are tales of Saltwinds who were not the same species. Long ago, when the Velothi were young, some found connections with other beings. It was rare, but it happened. Other beings? You mean aliens? Yes, the stories say that true soul connection goes beyond physical form. It is about spirit, about the essence of who you are inside. Jiho stared at the old Velothi. Are you saying that Nari and I could actually be soul twins? I am saying that Nari's instincts were correct. She saw you when she smelled your scent. Something in her recognized something in you. The recognition taste confirmed what she already knew. But how is that possible? Hyun stood up and walked to the fountain. How is any connection possible? Why do some humans fall in love at first sight? Why do some animals bond with humans instead of their own kind? Connection is not about logic, it is about recognition. Jiho felt dizzy. This was too much to understand. If this is true, why are the elders angry? Why is Nari in trouble? Because they have forgotten the old stories. They think traditions are more important than truth. They think rules are more important than the heart. What will happen to Nari? Hyun's fur turned dark. They plan to send her away. Back to our homeworld where she will be watched and never allowed to make contact with other species again. That is not fair. No, Hyun agreed. It is not. But unless something changes, it will happen tomorrow. Jiho felt panic rising in his chest. What can I do? How can I help her? There is an old ceremony, Haeon said slowly. A way to prove that a soul connection is real. But it requires both individuals to participate willingly. What kind of ceremony? It's called the truth binding. Both souls must declare their connection in front of witnesses from both species. Then they must exchange scents, so that each carries part of the other with them always. Would that prove we are Saltwinds? If the connection is real, yes. The scent exchange will create a permanent bond that others can sense. It cannot be faked. Jiho thought about this. It sounded scary, but also right somehow. What if the connection is not real? What if we are wrong, then nothing will happen. Ceremony will fail and everyone will know that Nari made a mistake. And if we are right, Hyun's fur glowed brighter, and you will be the first interspecies Saltwinds in recorded history. You will prove that connection goes beyond biology. Jiho stood up and walked around the fountain, thinking hard. This was crazy. He barely knew Nari. They had spoken for maybe 5 minutes total. How could they be twins? But then he remembered. Her eyes, the way she had looked at him like she was seeing his true self, the way his skin had tingled when she touched him, the way he had not been able to stop thinking about her. How do we do this ceremony? Jiho asked. First, you must get permission from your ambassador, then I must convince the elders to allow it. Both sides must agree. Ambassador Park will never agree. He thinks Nari insulted humanity. Then you must convince him that she did not. You must help him understand what really happened. Jiho thought about Ambassador Park's angry face, his assumption that the lick was an insult. How could he convince someone so sure of his opinion? I will need help, Jiho said. My friends Minjae and Taeyong, and maybe Sumin, if she is willing. The more people who understand the truth, the better, Hyun agreed. But we must move quickly. Nari's transport leaves tomorrow at sunset. As they walked toward the door, Jiho had one more question. Hyun, why are you helping us? You could get in trouble with the other elders. The old Velothi stopped and looked. at Jiho with his wise golden eyes, because I am old enough to remember what is truly important. Love and connection are rare gifts in this universe. When they appear, even in unexpected forms, they should be celebrated, not punished. That afternoon, Jiho sent urgent messages to Min-jae and Tae-young. He also tried to contact Sumin through the station's communication system. By evening, he had a plan. It was risky, and it might not work, but it was Nara's only chance to avoid exile. And it was his only chance to understand what this strange connection really meant. Tomorrow, he would either prove that love could exist between different species, or he would learn that some connections were just wishful thinking. Either way, he had to try. Jiho stood outside Ambassador Park's office, his hands shaking. In a few hours, Nari would be taken away forever. This was his last chance to make things right. He knocked on the door. "Come in," Ambassador Park called. Jiho entered to find the ambassador packing files into boxes. The man looked tired and defeated. "Sir," Jiho began, "I need to tell you something important about what happened with Nari." Ambassador Park did not look up. "Jiho, it is over. The Velothi will not talk to us. We are all going home tomorrow. But what if I told you that Nari did not insult us? What if what she did was actually the highest honor in her culture?" Now Ambassador Park looked up. "What are you talking about?" "What?" Jiho took a deep breath and told him everything. Out! About the recognition taste. About the old stories Heian had shared. Ambassador Park listened without interrupting, his expression changing from anger to confusion to amazement. "You are telling me," Ambassador Park said slowly, "that this alien girl thinks you are her ... soulmate. Not thinks. Knows. The recognition taste does not lie, according to their culture." Ambassador Park sat down heavily in his chair. "This is impossible, Jiho. Humans and aliens cannot be soulmates." "Why not?" Jiho asked. "We can be friends with other species. We can work together, trade together, learn from each other. Why can we not connect on a deeper level? Because... Ambassador Park started to answer, then stopped. He could not think of a good reason. "Sir, there is a ceremony that can prove the connection is real. If you give me permission, I can show both our species that what happened was not an insult. It was recognition." Ambassador Park was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "What do you need?" An hour later, Jiho stood in the main meeting room. Again, but this time, it was different. Humans sat on one side, Velothi on the other, but the mood was not angry. It was curious and hopeful. Ambassador Park had somehow convinced Elder Kira to allow the ceremony. Hyun sat beside her, translating and explaining the old traditions. Min-jae and Tae-young flanked Jiho, offering support. Sumin sat with the other. Young Velothi, her fur bright yellow with excitement. In the center of the room stood Nari. She looked scared, but determined. Her purple and silver fur shimmered under the lights. When she saw Jiho, her golden eyes met his, and he felt that same spark of recognition as before. "We are here," Elder Kira announced, "to witness the truth-binding ceremony. This ancient ritual will determine if the connection claimed between these two beings is real or imagined." Heian stood up slowly. "The ceremony is simple, but powerful. Both individuals must state their truth before witnesses, and they must exchange sense, allowing each to carry part of the other always. If the connection is real, the bond will form and can be sensed by all present. If it is false, nothing will happen." Jiho's mouth felt dry. What if nothing happened? What if he had been wrong about everything? "Jiho Kim of Earth," Heian said, "speak your truth." Jiho stepped forward, looked at Nari, then at all the faces. Watching him, human and alien alike, "I do not fully understand what happened when Nari tasted me," he began. "But I know it was not an insult. From the moment she looked at me, I felt like she could see who I really was inside. She saw past my fear, past my confusion, straight to my heart. When she touched me, it felt right, even though it was strange. I have never felt that kind of instant understanding with anyone, human or alien." He paused, gathering courage for the next words. "I believe Nari and I are connected in a way that goes beyond our different species. I believe some bonds are stronger than biology. I want to honor that connection, whatever it means for our future. Nara's fur glowed bright gold. She stepped forward and spoke in her own language. Suman translated for the humans. Nari says, "When I saw this human, I smelled truth and kindness. His scent spoke to something deep in my spirit. I could not stop myself from tasting him because my soul recognized his soul. I knew he was my twin spirit before my mind understood what that meant.
Oh.
I am willing to be bound to him, even if it means being different from everyone else." Hugh nodded. Now comes the binding. Each must take the scent of the other and carry it within themselves. Jiho approached Nari. Jiho walked to the center of the room where Nari waited. Up close, he could see the nervous flutter of her ears, the way her fur changed colors with her emotions. "I am scared," she whispered in English. "Me too," Jiho whispered back. "But I think we are supposed to be scared together." Nari smiled the first time Jiho had seen her smile. It made her face look completely different. Younger and more human somehow. Following Hane's instructions, Jiho placed his hand on Nari's neck just below her ear. Her fur was incredibly soft. Nari did the same, her clawed hand gentle on his skin. Hane said each must breathe in the other's scent and accept it as part of themselves. Jiho breathed deeply. Nari's scent was stronger now. Flowers and wildness, and something uniquely her. As he inhaled, he felt a warm, tingling sensation spread through his body. Nari breathed in his scent too. Her eyes went wide, and her fur began to glow brighter than Jiho had ever seen. Then something amazing happened. The tingling sensation grew stronger, spreading from Jiho's chest to his arms, his legs, his head. He could feel Nari's presence inside him, not just physically, but emotionally. He could sense her nervousness, her hope, her deep caring for him, and somehow he knew she could feel the same from him. Gasps came from both sides of the room. The Velathi's fur was changing colors rapidly, gold and silver and bright white. Even Elder Kira's fur had turned golden. "The bond is real," Hian announced, his voice filled with wonder. "We are witnessing the first interspecies soul binding in recorded history." Ambassador Park stood up, staring at Jiho and Nari in amazement. "I can feel it," he said quietly. "There is something different in the air, something ... connected, Elder." Kira approached them, her fur still glowing. "I owe you both an apology," she said. "I thought Nari had acted foolishly. Instead, she has shown us that connection knows no boundaries." Over the next few hours, everything changed. Instead of going home in failure, both diplomatic teams began planning for a new kind of relationship between their species. Jiho and Nari would become the first interspecies ambassadors, helping both humans and Velothi understand that some bonds transcend biology. Minjae was already taking notes for his research. Taeyong was working on new translation protocols. Suman was planning to study human culture. As the celebration continued around them, Jiho and Nari found a quiet corner of the room. "What happens now?" Jiho asked. "Now we learn about each other," Nari replied. "We have the rest of our lives to understand what this connection means." "Are you afraid?" Nari considered the question. "Not afraid. Excited. We are doing something no one has ever done before." Jiho nodded. They were pioneers, explorers of a new kind of relationship. It would not be easy. It would be challenges, misunderstandings, and people who did not approve, but they would face it together as he looked out at the stars. Through the station's windows, Jiho realized that this was how progress really happened. Not through wars or grand gestures, but through two individuals willing to see past their differences and recognize the connection that made them whole. Sometimes the greatest discoveries came not from exploring space, but from exploring the heart.